Hi, my name is Mary Lou, and this is a brief introduction to Pear Deck. It's an add-on for Google Slides that helps you make your slides more engaging and interactive. I'm going to share my Pear Deck so you can experience what it's like to be a student, and you'll also get to see some of the teacher features as well. So first things first, you can see I'm in Google Slides. There are a few things that make this a Pear Deck. One, you can see I've already added the add-on. It's here, and it is open on the right-hand side. This is what gives me all the options to start my lesson, add interactive options, add audio to my slides, and see other examples. You can see I've already done that to this slide deck because on some of the slides, you can see a gray bar at the bottom. That's your hint that that's an interactive slide. Now to get those interactive features, you actually have to go to Start Lesson to present. So first things first, when you hit Start Lesson, it'll ask you whether you want it to be instructor or student-paced. If I hit instructor, then that's going to keep you at whatever slide I'm on. It's not going to give you the option to navigate around the whole slide deck. So this is what I'm going to use for our session. You'll have this slide decks available to you later. To experience this as a student, you need to go to joinpd.com and then enter this code. Other options are I could invite my class and put this link on Google Classroom. I could give them this link directly and post that in the chat. But those are the main ways that a student can join this instructor pace mode. I'm going to join just in another tab so you can see what it's like to be a student as well. This first question is always present unless you turn this feature off. It'll ask them their mood when they're starting and a reflection at the end. So we'll just get started. You can see this is once I hit start class. I can also see how many students have joined my class, how many people have accessed this link. And it gives me the option to open a teacher dashboard. I'll open that too, keep it in a separate tab. But you have two options as you're presenting as the teacher. This is the first one. This is like the regular present view. Some features of this are in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see the code again. So if somebody joins late or closes the tab by accident, you give them that code. You also have some navigation bars at the bottom to navigate slide to slide. You can add a question on the fly. If you click this new prompt, it'll allow you to do that. And then you'll have your extra features with these three dots. I'll come back to that in a little bit. Usually the first thing I do is name my session. So I'm going to call this Zoom Pear Deck Workshop. Save. Okay, as I click through the slides, you'll see, like I'm going to go to this slide. Your slides are going to go as well. We'll start at the beginning though. What do you think Pear Deck is? You'll see this as an option, as a question and options, but right now these aren't clickable. That's because I'm looking at the teacher view. To see the student view, or what you should see on your slides, are actually multiple choice options. This will give you the option to click. You can, change your mind as much as you want. And then I'll have the option to see what students are responding. It'll give me a poll option. So if I change my answer, you'll see it'll change instantly. Now from the present view, this might be what I'm showing, sharing my screen and showing the class. I have the option to toggle the show responses if I want to show everybody how the class is responding and use it like a poll. There, you can have slides without any interaction. This is just a reminder to get this feature. You have to go to the add-on menu and it'll be there, Pear Deck, and that's how you open that menu. If you don't see it there, you can go to Get Add-ons, search for Pear Deck, and it'll appear in your Google Marketplace. Now, were you paying attention? Where is that add-on tab? If you don't have it yet, you'll notice this is another interaction slide. From your view, you should have a little map icon. It tells you students drive the icon. This is an opportunity to move this around and place it somewhere in your screen. You can see from my teacher dashboard, I can see where you're placing it. So if you are on the money, it moves there. If you've placed it somewhere else, you can see it moves accordingly. Now, if I wanted to see which student was answering this, I do have the option in this grid layout to associate names with this. This would be something I don't want to project. So in my presenter view, you can see if I show responses, it shows the picture, but it doesn't show the name. So this show and hide responses is an anonymized way to show student answers. Here's another one. Now, I've shown you two types so far, the multiple choice and the draggable, but there are many other interaction opportunities. You can ask students to answer with text. You can ask for a number response. You can have them, and you can embed a website and have them interact with that, or you can have a drawing response. Now, which type of question looks most interesting to you? None of these types, you're like, I'm not sure how I would use that. There are a bunch of templates available. When you click our template library, it gives you these options. There are pre-made slides to suggest ways to include interaction during a lesson, at the end or beginning of a lesson, and some other learning development things like critical thinking prompts or social emotional learning, getting to know you questions. Now, here's another example of one of those interaction types. This one is actually using an embedded website. As you can see, this doesn't look very interesting to you. It just has a few questions. But if I go to the student view, what it looks like is it actually embeds that website in the frame. So they don't have to go out of the Pear Deck and on a different tab. They're right there. They can interact with this. This is a scrollable interactive. So you can see as I scroll forward and backwards, I'm able to change the animation that appears. This is a reminder of like what they should be looking for in the website. So as they're scrolling through or interacting with this website, they should be able to answer these questions. Here's another way to use that scene feature. So this is, again, embedding a website. This time I've put some prompts here, but this time I've actually embedded a Google Doc. So multiple people can type into this. It might be something that, I might add some questions, or as a class design an experiment. But you can use websites that are interactive as well. Here was one of the templates. I just wanted to show you an example. This is a mind map, and this is actually a drawing one. So as you're on this slide, you have the option to either, highlight something if you're reading a text. You can draw with a pencil, right? You can add some text. And as you're doing those things, again, from my present view, I don't see anything. If I click show responses, I'm able to see. Or if I go to my teacher dashboard, I'm able to see. This lets me see sort of in sequence of time, like who's answering first and fastest and who's taking a little longer. That way I can see any patterns. If someone's really flying through, I'm able to tell. Here's another, this should look familiar from our Grace Dearborn webinar. This is an example of note making, right? You can ask for these summaries. This prompt is a text-based prompt. So you can see from the student view, it gives them a little text box to enter their best idea ever thoughts. From the teacher dashboard, you can see as I'm typing, they're appearing right away. If I change my answer to something else, you can see in the teacher dashboard, it changes as well. So it's a nice way to check in real time with different students as they're going through. Here was another one that was in the social emotional response. This prompt is actually a multiple choice prompt. It gives you the chance, gives students the chance to let you know how they're feeling about responding in class, even though they may be remote and not able to talk to you privately other than through chat. This is a way for you to sort of read the room a little bit. And you can see as students are answering, you can see overall how the class is doing. Or if you go to this grid again, you can see individual students. So you can use that to have further conversations or call on students more easily. Now that you know all the different interactions that are possible, let me show you how to do it and a few of the other options you can toggle on and off. So this first one, definitely make sure that you require student logins. That's helpful because then the responses are not anonymous for students, and it can track them and make sure that their domain is recorded. The second feature, when you click these three bars in that right-hand panel, is you get the option to review the session. And I'll show you what that looks like. It looks like this. Basically, it takes you to the website peardeck.com, you're logged in, and it shows you all the sessions you've run. So if you wanted to go back and view student responses, or you wanted to check on something that you've assigned asynchronously, that's how to do it. And then you can choose to present it directly. So if you're like, okay, great, I want to show everyone the responses and talk about it in my 20-minute Zoom session, you can do that. Or you can go and open the teacher dashboard. That's what this symbol is. It also gives you options to archive it if you don't want to see, if you only want to see recent things. If you're done reviewing it, you can archive it and it'll pop away. It is nice that it also tracks the time and date that you've completed a session in case you forget to name it. Now, if you want to use it with students, just like the way I started this lesson is on that right-hand panel, you click Start Lesson, then you choose your mode that you want to start in. Now, I chose instructor paced, and that's why you're not seeing the navigation. If you choose student paced, your student bars have these right and left arrows. And you can always turn on student pace. So if I start a lesson in class and I'm like, okay, great, please finish this later, you can change it back to student paced. When you click present, it does look like this. This is a reminder that pop-up window is often what you're projecting. Gives the code for students to enter. And then this is the view that I'm currently showing you. This is the screen I'm sharing. You can see it has the control for slides. It has the code for late students, and it gives you the option to open that dashboard. Now the dashboard is the favorite part. If you prefer this view and you want to see student responses, again, I wouldn't share this screen because it does possibly name students, but you can still control which slide is showing for students. So if students are working in a breakout room and you've not currently sharing your screen, you can use this as a way to force students to move through and control the pace. Or if you prefer not to share your screen and you just want to talk because you want all the faces to be bigger, you can use this as a way, students will be still seeing your screen as you're showing it. It'll still keep pace with whatever slide has the yellow box, but you don't necessarily need to share your screen. And then as students respond, they appear in the middle. You can always hit lock screen and that will stop accepting responses temporarily. And then on your dashboard, remember you still have these options. You can always switch back to the projector view if you prefer. That's where you have the option to name your session, and you can switch it to student pace. If for whatever reason you close all the tabs by accident, or you close the wrong tab, you can get your dashboard back. If you prefer a URL solution, you can go to app.peardeck.com/dash, or again, you can open up your options from the three-dot menu. Now here are a few other settings that you can toggle once you're in that review session section. Basically, you can click on your face and that'll open up these other options to enable. The classroom climate piece are the piece at the beginning. They're like, how are you feeling? That mood idea, and how do you think this lesson went? Thumbs up, thumbs down. I leave it on. It's a nice way to check in with students. You can also embed Google Classroom. I toggled this on since we're Google School. It embeds the code nicely. You can post it as an assignment or a material. And you can also require student login. So this helps me track student responses. Another feature I enabled is this takeaways. Basically, this allows you to print a summary of your slideshow and record student responses. So I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. But it's great because then they have a record of what they responded. Another feature that I haven't tried out yet is this immersive reader. Basically, it allows like a screen reader type function to read anything that's present on your slides. Now that's the end of my slideshow. I do want to show you that you can add a new slide at any time. So I hit this new prompt and it opens up these options. These are from the templates. So if as you're going through a slide, you're like, wait a minute, I need to check in on students. I want to give them this prompt or a chance to reflect or something came up, you can always add these directly while you're presenting. You don't necessarily need to change anything. Another option is you can actually use the slide that you're physically on and just change whatever the interaction is. So this one wasn't an interactive slide. I can make it interactive. It gives me these options directly. So if you wanted to say, okay, class, tell me which part of this is most confusing. Let me make this draggable. You can, include that. So that's what that new prompt is. It lets you add things directly to your slides as you're presenting. Now I'm gonna actually hit end this session. What that's going to do is it's going to give me the option to publish those student takeaways. That's only available once you close the session because it records all the student responses. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit end. It makes a folder in your Google Drive that you can share with your students. If you want them to see the responses, it'll create one for everyone. It'll show each slide and it'll show all the responses of that particular student. Now, it might be something you don't want to share with everybody. If you want them, you can share just the blank version if you prefer. But since every single student will have one, it's a nice way to go through and give them this option. So you'll see there's one with my name on it since I went through as a student. And it gives me this summary option. It tells me when this session happened. It'll show me all the slides, and any slide that had a response option, it'll tell me what I chose. So this is a great place you can ask students to reflect on their answers. If they got an answer incorrect, you can ask them to go back and reevaluate and think through their choices. If they didn't answer something, you can go back and say, okay, now that you know more, do you feel better able to answer this? And anything you used that was a hyperlink, like that when I embedded those websites, it includes the links here. So if students want to go back and revisit content, they can. So it does only record whatever their last response was. So if you remember for this one, I typed best answer ever or something. It doesn't remember that. It only remembers whatever their last response was. So you can see this is just a Google Doc. I could ask students to resubmit this if I want, or include extra things on it. So it is still editable if they prefer. So the takeaways I think are great. You can also have this blank one for students who are absent. If they don't have one, you can ask them to go through the Pear Deck directly and respond. So here all your responses are empty. You could ask them to go through and fill it out. So that's my presentation. I'll show you real quick what it looks like for a review session now that I've ended my session. If I go to review sessions, you should be able to see the one that is going on right now because it's still open as a student. Let me just close these. Okay, return to Google Slides. I haven't closed it down completely. Let me go ahead and end. So now students aren't able to complete it. I can still go to this dashboard, even though I've closed it, look at a previous presentation and see how everybody answered. So when I answered some of these slides, you can go back and see how I answered. So that's a great way. And then this template library, again, I said has lots of different options. Feel free to explore content suggestions. Some of these are interesting around checking in on students, making sure you're giving them opportunities to reflect and feel listened to. So there are lots of different options there. I hope you found something that you can use. Thanks for listening.